Hi, my name is Sandy Majola. I am 20. I'm 20. I'm from Durban. I study BA International Studies in third year. Okay, we're part of the Listen, Live and Learn. That's the Triple L experience. This is the critical thinking house, and basically what they do is we have to apply at like August every year, and we go through this intense process of interviews and motivations and CVs, just to see what theme we're going to get put in. And every house has got a theme. So our theme is critical thinking. There's also the open eyes, or transformation, or gender theme. What else? Yeah, it's just a place where we can get together. We have to live together, discuss things, invite guests, and have a project at the end of the year.
Okay, my name is Wetherbaum. I'm from Bloemfontein. I'm now 22, and I'm my first year of Masters in Industrial Engineering.
My name is David Hatherall, and I'm 21 years old. I'm from Johannesburg, and I'm studying a Bachelor of Commerce in Actuarial Science, my honours year.
My name is Helene Hofmeyer. I'm 21. I'm from Louis Trichardt, more recently Johannesburg. I study BA Value and Policy Studies, and I'm in my third year.
Hello, I'm Ramona Furges. I'm currently in my final year of studying BA Music, and I'm from Bellville originally, and I'm 21 years old.
My name is Nox Malumbete. I'm 21. I'm from Guyana, and I study law and in my final year.
Hi, I'm Dylan Wademan. I'm in my 5th year at Stellenbosch University doing my first year of Masters in Sociology. I'm 22, grew up in Joburg, but more recently from Durban.
My name is Yolanda Mnyandu. I am studying Conservation Ecology second year. I'm 21. I am from Richards Bay in KZN.
And why did you decide to apply for this house?
For critical thinking. I thought it would be the greatest opportunity to grow as a person, to kind of force yourself to be more observant and more to dig deeper about certain situations.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to dig deep now and tell me what do you think is a South African? What is the South African identity?
I think there isn't one identity because South Africa is so diverse with 11 official languages. It's difficult to put it in one bubble.
And and your own identity, how would you define that?
I would identify myself as a Black Zulu speaking woman from KZN. Yeah.
and how has it been for a Black Zulu speaking KZN woman to come to Stellenbosch?
It's been a cultural experience as a whole, very educational and sometimes challenging, and forces you to sort of step out of your comfort zone and experience life. I think the biggest challenge I face is that I don't understand Afrikaans and I can't speak it, but yeah.
Is it a problem in class?
Not this year, because we have translators now, but I think before it was. But the fact that the notes and the textbooks are in English was an advantage.
And socially, have you picked up any Afrikaans lingo?
A bit. Ramona spoke to me in Afrikaans and I understood, and I spoke back in English, and I was like, oh yeah.
Ramona, you Afrikaans speaking your own language?
Yes, I am Afrikaans.
That's interesting. I asked you whether you Afrikaans speaking. You said you are Afrikaans. So do you identify yourself as an Afrikaans person? Is that part of your identity?
Yes, most definitely. Ek gaan volgende jaar my honeurs doen in Afrikaans Nederlands. So ja, nee, definitief as Afrikaanse meisie. Ja.
En wat beteken dit vir jou om Afrikaans te wees in 2013 in Suid-Afrika?
Wel, ek dink om Afrikaans te wees in die industrie, dit is moeilik vir my want ek is al in die industrie waarin ek is dit natuurlik awesome want ek meen dit is my rigting en alles. Maar ek meen ek dink daar is sekere ek studeer musiek op die oomblik, maar ek gaan nou ek met Afrikaans-Nederlands as my hoofvak. Waar ek nou volgende jaar gaan aanstudeer. Maar so vir my is dit wonderlik, maar ek dink dit is om Afrikaans te wees is 'n bietjie van 'n challenge op die oomblik in die land. Maar ja, vir my persoonlik is dit nog okay.
Knox, how's it been for you? Awesome or a shock?
In between, cause I come from the Limpopo province, and I went to Hoërskool and the culture there was very different. Like, white people were like very different from the white people I met here. They were more involved, they were more accommodating, they were willing to learn and to like pick up on what is that excites black people, what black people are doing. Like if we'd have a house party, all my white friends would chip in, you know, they'd all come. And it was normal to go sleep over at your white friend's place or to have white people look out for you. And then I came here, so I was like, okay, fine, I'm used to the culture and it's very cultural. I mean, Skivvy Dag and Mupu Day was our thing and we had a lot of culture and I liked that because everyone was involved, everyone was included. Got here and I was like, what's happening? Like, what is this? Because it was very different. Even with the white people, you find segregation with the black people as well. So it was very confusing for me at first. But then I always say that when you get here, it's like survival of the fittest, adapt or die. Because if it doesn't work for you, then you will really, really have a hard time getting along with what it is that you have to cut into do here. You struggle in ways, academically, it's all going to be a problem. But for me, while I like to, you know, fight my way through things. So for me, it was not that bad. If you treat me badly, I will tell you to get off my case. Sometimes I do get mad about certain things.
Like what?
Well, this white boy made a rude comment about me at a club. I got so mad, I almost hit him with a bottle. Luckily, my friends were there. So it's all these small things that get to, but in general, it's not a bad place. Studies is very amazing. It's beautiful. The scenery, the people, the lectures. So I really like it here. I love it here.
Racism is one of those issues that crop up in South Africa from time to time. Have any of you had an experience on this campus, a personal experience with racism?
Yes. I think we all have. People say, why do you care so much? Because you're white, it doesn't even happen to you. But when I was in first year, I don't know, a lot of people have had this experience where the room allocations were based on race. But not even, I mean, it wasn't black with black and coloured with coloured, it was white with white and everyone else. So, you know, even if you were Zulu from KwaZulu-Natal, you had to live with a coloured girl from Cape Town because, you know, you're not white, so you probably have so much in common, basically. And I was super offended by that because I get this white roommate and we live on the top floor and the black people refuse to speak to me because they feel like they're excluded from my res. And I'm very sad about that because I've always had black friends. I've always really, for some reason, I also come from Limpopo and I've always, like Knox said, there's just this commonality, I don't know. And for the first time in my life, I felt like black people didn't want to speak to me because I'm white, because I'm already excluded from them. And that was an institutional thing which I had no control over and which makes me very sad.
The integration in residences or the segregation in residences, how do you see that happening in reality, apart from any policy or so? You've had an experience of segregation in reality and practice. Others who've been in this is an integrated setup here. How's it in residences otherwise on campus?
Sandy?
I was in Harden Domusco's house, that's like across the road from here. And last year there was an incident with the first year girl. Apparently she moved in and she had a white roommate, this was a colored girl now. And she moved in and then her mother had a problem with her being colored. So what happened was there was a big hoo-ha about she can't have a roommate with a colored girl. And what basically my friend who was house committee at that time, they basically told her it's either this or you go home. Because this is what, you know, this is in South Africa, you should be able to live with whoever we place you with. But in the years before that, it's kind of always been, you know, black and black, white and white. And it's really hard to change that. And I feel like the leadership in residences are also afraid or also have their own prejudices against people of different races living together. And that kind of hinders transformation within residences. And it's because of that they're still very afraid, and they're also still very young and not quite sure of what steps to take with that to ensure transformation in the res. That it's going very slowly. The process is going very slowly. Last year, a policy was put in place that residences are not allowed to allocate roommates according to color, but that's more of a like, you should have done that anyway. Now you have to put it in paper. So from the students themselves, it's going very, very slowly. Yeah.
When were you guys born? Give me a rough indication. What year?
92.
92.
91.
So 1990 to 93.
You've grown up in kind of a post-apartheid, you know, let's not argue about the first few years or so, but and yet here we are speaking about race and discrimination. And Sandy, you also said that the pace of change is slow. But yet, Nox, you said you had quite an integrated, and it was never an issue, experience in Limpopo.
Yeah, it's never, like, it wasn't an issue, like, really, it wasn't an issue. I remember with my brother, when we were still in primary school, he had white friends come visit us all the time. Hy het potjie kos gemaak, het gaan kamp, gaan vis, al die lekker goed het hulle gedoen. And then my black friends would be like, oh my gosh, why you guys hang out with like the white people? And I was like, okay, is this really happening? Because that's not how I was brought up. To me, it's very different. I mean, we have people, family, friends, because that's how we are, from Zambia, Namibia, all these African countries, because it's normal. And the thing is, the one thing that gets to me is that the reason we can't move on is that people are scared to speak about these things.
Exactly.
I think the minute, like, this is cool, I like this, because why was people putting it out there, which is normal, it's okay. People hear race, and they're like, okay, let's run away, let's not talk about it, let's, sweep it under the carpet. And we're not going to get past that if that's the culture to adopt. Whereas here, even with black people here, I walked with my boyfriend, a white guy, and then this black man is like, excuse me, is that your boyfriend? I didn't have words for him. I didn't know what to say. Because I don't know, maybe it's just the place that we're at, maybe it's just a Western Cape, a Stellenbosch thing, but it's just completely different.
In Mayuba, they had the problem where even if black people come on the HACA, the House Committee, it's often those that come from all boys schools and who have a more Western upbringing, and who are popular also with the white crowd, but then even they can't understand the struggles and difficulties of the guys coming from more disadvantaged or more traditional backgrounds, and therefore they are very excluded in residence, even if it doesn't appear so, because there's a black guy in the haka. No one really understands the requirements and the support that someone from a different background requires, and I think that's also hindering that kind of integration and the process of speeding up transformation.
Dylan, right?
Yes.
The diversity experience. You are. What is your home language?
English.
English. Okay. And where do you come from?
I grew up mostly in Johannesburg, in Randburg, and then I moved here to Somerset West actually in my first year. And I spent most of my undergrad traveling in and out. This was actually my first year living in residence. Listening, living and learning has been an amazing experience, and probably the most diverse experience that I've ever had in my life. I've learned an insane amount about myself and about other cultures, religions, and all kinds of other things. I mean, you name the sphere in your life and you've learned about it in this house. We have very little boundaries about what we can and can't talk about, so I think we've gotten very, very comfortable with one another. And diversity is a really difficult concept to talk about. I think that as a white South African, I've also been really sheltered in my childhood. And in my field that I'm studying, sociology, I've been forced to really move out of my comfort zone and really look at the history of South Africa, and not just the history but the present, and kind of try and understand the complexities of what South African society encapsulates. And sometimes the reality is really is shocking, but at the same time there's a lot of hope, I think, and I have a lot of faith in South African people and where we're going.
Further, are you also hopeful? What do you see in the future for this country?
Yeah, I'd say I'm hopeful. I guess there's always uncertainty. There's always black swans. So in that sense, the uncertainty would be the downside risk of hope. But yeah, no, I'm committed to this country and to really making my contribution to making it a better place, and trying to move forward and be part of that hope. Yeah.
How do you see yourself in terms of South Africa?
Well, I come from Bloemfontein, very Afrikaans, very white, especially the city or the inner city, and I come from a school called Jim Fisher, very Afrikaans school. We didn't even present English as a first language, so I had to take it as a second language, which is now difficult seeing as I'm going to study in England now for a year. But anyways, so even during those times where the culture around you is very Afrikaans and Afrikaner mindset, I always saw myself as a South African citizen. And maybe it was also my parents who were also maybe not necessarily open-minded, but not very political, and it just felt to me normal that I'm a South African before I am an Afrikaans person, and knowing the history of South Africa. And that coming to Stellenbosch only actually this year, I'm really realizing what that means. Being in Afrikaans school, the only black people you interact with are very Afrikaans, and also more Afrikaans culture than anything else. So I think I've really this year only realized what that means, being a South African citizen and being part of this country, not just part of the Afrikaans culture.
So to me, to be South African is very much connected to the diversity for you.
Yeah, I think to move forward and to really succeed in the 21st century is no longer a concept of everyone just tolerating the others while going on their own mission. I really think that to be competitive in an international sphere and to have peace and to have hope and to move forward, I think we have to no longer just look out for our own little identity, but see a broader picture of a South African identity, and within that framework make decisions and really make decisions that are beneficial to all South Africans and not just your subgroup of that. I think only when you approach it holistically like that, we can really have hope for all South Africans.
Ilian, you are a student of value and policy studies.
Yes.
So I want to ask you about values. Do you agree that there is something such as a South African identity, and do you think values form part of that?
The only South African identity, if I could say there's one thing in common for South Africans, it's that we're all in crisis in terms of our identity. And that in itself is, like, I went to Grahamstown this year and I watched so many plays, and the idea of South Africanness comes up. And the only thing that came through was, none of us really know. So in terms of values, there's nothing I can say, all South Africans have this as a value or that. Not at all. But I think we're unique if you compare us to, other nationalities and other kinds of identities. We're the one where you can sit around a table and talk for hours about your identity because you can't put it in a few bullet points or a few values.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about something like the Constitution, the values in the Bill of Human Rights, freedom of association, freedom of speech, the right to human dignity? Do you think that South Africans generally are aware of their rights, their value, the values in the Constitution, and value those highly?
Sure, that's a difficult question because South Africans in general is like the most difficult category of people. So I don't know, probably university students in South Africa know about them, but the majority of South Africans, it's very difficult for me to imagine that they do, and that they are aware of those values and would fight for them or promote them as being their human rights. Yeah.
David, right? Is there anything that you would fight for?
Just need to think now. I would fight for my community. If you look as South Africa and at Stellenbosch University, I found that we are living in a very privileged society. We have so many experiences that we should be grateful for, and we have so many opportunities and privileges. But right next door, there's about 2 or 3 different townships who don't experience what we are experiencing. So I would fight for them, but personally, something for myself, I feel I would rather fight for them before I would fight for myself personally.
That's interesting that you consider that community part of your identity. You say they are my community.
Yeah.
Have you always felt like that, or has there been a process of awareness coming to that insight?
I think I felt a sense of it, a sense of it's my community, but recently, I'm from Johannesburg, and recently I've come to Stellenbosch and I've experienced what it's like to be with people from that community, and if I have experiences with the community, then I'll associate it as my community and my surrounding community.
Being part of the world, to be South African and to be a young person in South Africa this time, do you see yourself as part of the world? You want to go and study there? Tell me about that.
Okay. Well, Stellenbosch provides a lot of opportunity to get international exposure. We have a lot of international students on campus, and in my third year, I had the opportunity to go on a 3-week exchange in Germany. And since my second year, I've been looking out for international opportunities, and I've finally organized to now go study in England for a year. But I don't know, I've attached the value to being a South African, and I think it'll take a lot for me to really be able to settle in a other country long term. I think South Africa is such a big part of me, and I don't think it's the same for everyone. But yeah, I can't see myself living overseas permanently. So yeah, South Africa is still very much part of that.
So I love South Africa, and I recently had the experience to go overseas for the first time in my life. Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to Russia. So that I was telling people about South Africa, like how great we are, and then we have different nations. So with the Indian people, like, oh no, they've got Indian people in South Africa. I'm like, how's your curry in India? Is it better? Have you ever tried ours? So I feel like there's so many experiences to draw on, and it's so hard to just encapsulate that and give it to a Spanish person who only knows like maybe 2 nations in their country. So I found it very difficult. But what I ended up really saying is we're such friendly people and it's so much fun, and that's because I love being here, and I could only ever say good things about South Africa.
And then about the integration in reses, I came from Erica, but I feel like it's very advanced as opposed to some of the reses, because I had a white roommate in first year, and it's not as racially awkward as the other reses. There's no racial tension between Erica girls and whatnot. So I'd say they've come very far from the stories that I hear from people from other places. So they tried and they succeeded.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.